I've got some sad news coming from the broadcast world. We lost an anchor. He wasn't just an anchor, he was a legendary broadcast. He brought innovation to SportsCenter in the mornings and afternoons and was a big part of my life growing up when I was a super sports nut. He was also a Chicago native, and we lost him earlier, actually last Sunday, due to his battle with cancer. He lost his battle with cancer. And he was fighting it for a number of years, but he was doing everything right, eating healthy, being active, staying fit. And it sucks when you, if one of you guys passed away, and I had to announce it on the air, or I had gotten news, during the broadcast, and then I had to recite that news over the air, which is what happened to Rich Eisen. And Rich Eisen was there from the beginning of Stuart Scott's tenure with SportsCenter, and he started in somewhere in 95, 96. Before that, he was doing local news in California, I want to say, but he grew up in Chicago. And I'm going to play a little clip from that broadcast where Rich Eisen had to break the news to the world after he had found out himself. So give this a listen. We'll be back in about 2 minutes.
And being teamed up with a guy who I'd seen on television but had never met before. A proud African-American Chicagoan by way of North Carolina due to his school, Bleeding Carolina Blue. And the two of us became married on television, essentially. He referred to himself as my TV wife. And I cannot believe that I'm now sitting here on television reporting to you the news that I heard about 10 minutes ago. And that Stuart Scott has died. One of the most joyful, full of life individuals I have ever come across. Lived his life the way his parents wanted him to live it, the way he felt he should live it. He broadcast the same way, a groundbreaking broadcaster in the world of sports television. I love this man. I still love this man. And the fact that he has passed away is absolutely mind-boggling and a travesty. He battled cancer as bravely as anybody else. And I know there are many people out there who are battling cancer right now and Stuart would want you to know to keep fighting. Keep fighting, and that he didn't lose this battle of cancer. He fought it as bravely as he possibly could. And as you go to bed tonight, flip your pillow over to the cool side. And before you go to sleep, as Stuart would say, you hit your knees tonight and pray to the big man for his beautiful daughters who he loved, Taylor and Sydney. Pray for Stuart and his family, his parents, his siblings, his girlfriend, his ex-wife, everybody who he loved. And that includes you, the sports fans, even those who hated on him. He thrived on it. That's because he is who he is and was, I can't believe it's the past tense, who he was. Stuart Scott is dead at the age of 49. I love you, Stuart. Wherever you are, Godspeed. Rest in peace.
Very, very, very heartfelt goodbye from Rich Eisen, who, as he mentioned in the broadcast, he was his on-air, marriage. It was they were teamed up just about every show in the morning on SportsCenter. Simultaneously, while that message was, it aired during last weekend's playoff games for the NFL, and on SportsCenter 2, another anchor that worked with Stuart Scott from the beginning of his career was Hannah Storm, and she also had to break the news at the same time, and we're going to play that short clip right now, too.
I have some very sad news to report to you this morning. Our colleague, our friend, and our inspiration, Stuart Scott, passed away earlier today. At July's ESPY Awards, Stuart Scott told the audience, "When you die, it does not mean that you lose to cancer. You beat cancer by how you live, why you live, and in the manner in which you live." Since 1993, those of us here at ESPN, fortunate enough to work with Stuart, saw how he lived. And in the past 7 years, as he fought cancer, we saw why he lived, for his daughters, Taylor and Sydney. And so today, we choose not to say that Stuart lost to cancer at the age of 49. Instead, we'll simply say that we all lost Stuart.
Another emotional goodbye from Hannah Storm, and she mentioned his ESPY speech in 2014, early, I think in June. They gave Stuart the Jimmy V Award for his battle against cancer, and the speech he gave was a pretty remarkable one, and I'm going to play that for you right now.
You know, tomorrow all my boys are going to be like, yo, man, I saw you at the ESPYs with Peyton Manning, Money Mayweather, and KD. I'm going to be like, yeah, whatever. Jack Bauer saved the world, and he introduced me. 24 is my favorite TV show of all time, so Kiefer Sutherland, thank you very much. I am very honored. Every day I am reminded that our life's journey is really about the people who touch us. When I first heard that I was going to be honored with this reward, the very first thing that I did was I was speechless, briefly. I've presented this award before. I mean, I've watched in awe as Kay Yao and Eric LeGrand and all these other great people grace this stage. And although intellectually I get it, I'm a public figure, I have a public job, I'm battling cancer, hopefully I'm inspiring. At my gut level, I really didn't think that I belonged with those great people. But I listened to what Jim Valvano said 21 years ago. The most poignant 7 words ever uttered in any speech anywhere. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. Those great people didn't. Coach Valvano didn't. So to be honored with this, I now have a responsibility to also not ever give up. I'm not special. I just listened to what the man said. I listened to all that he said, everything that he asked of us, and that's to build the V Foundation. And let me tell you, man, it works. I'm talking tangible benefits. You saw me in that clinical trial. Now, here's the thing about that. Coach Valvano's words 21 years ago, helping me and thousands of people like me right now, direct benefits. That's why all of this, why we're here tonight, that's why it's so important. I also realized something else recently. You heard me kind of allude to it in the piece. I said, I'm not losing. I'm still here. I'm fighting. I'm not losing. But I got to amend that. When you die, that does not mean that you lose to cancer. You beat cancer by how you live, why you live, and in the manner in which you live.
Stuart Scott's emotional speech from the ESPY Awards in 2014. Just an amazing broadcaster. He brought something different to SportsCenter, and it probably put him further up on the charts than before he came along. You know, he was born in Chicago on July 19th, 1965, and you know, he just lost his battle with cancer. And it's tough to see him go. He'll be sorely missed.
He was one of the few guys that was actually entertaining enough to listen to on those shows.
Yeah, you know, he brought an angle to his commentary that was just different than all the stiff white guys that were on the show at the time. I mean, Chris Berman, sure, he was pretty colorful.
Yeah,
but
and he still is, you know what I mean? But yeah, Stuart Scott definitely had a personality, and it was able to. You know, we were fortunate enough that they allowed him to present it to us, which automatically makes it more endearing.
Not only that, he reached out to a younger generation to get him more involved in sports. You know?
Well, he kind of grew up, but he kind of came along. His style of broadcasting kind of reflected the changing of the sports culture as it happened. You
right.
know what I mean?
Yeah, the changing of the guard, so to speak.
You know, I mean, no more stiff Johnny Unitas types. You got the long hair Joe Namaths out there and stuff. You know, and,
for sure. Ladies, you got any comments? Any?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of shocking to me when I woke up.
I mean, I know your fantasy football team got knocked out of contention, so you probably weren't watching the games last week.
I was actually, but yeah, and it was sad. I'm not gonna lie, especially listening to his coworkers talking about him on the air.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah,
man.
it really is. It really
to work
is.
alongside somebody for like 10, 15 years. And
well, it's not that, but to care about them enough to have that emotional reaction to something like that. You know what I mean?
Like you've actually touched somebody to where they feel like they've actually lost somebody they really cared about, as opposed to just some slack-jawed idiot that works in the cubicle next to him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be so much also the sports world where he's making an impact. When he was talking about how, just facing cancer and living every day to your fullest, that really touches pretty much anybody that you know that you've ever experienced having a troubled time experiencing any disease, really.
Yeah,
that was really impressive what he said.
And that's absolutely true, I mean, cancer has exploded onto the scene the last 20 years or so in numbers that were just never seen before.
Unfortunately,
it's certainly growing in numbers.
And I lost both my grandfathers to cancer, and to know that they didn't follow through with the way of living towards the end that Stuart Scott talks about, it's very empowering to me, and if I ever have to do it, to go out with my boots on.
Well, he was only
49.
Yeah, 49.
But I mean, it takes a lot out of you.
It does. And so we're gonna wrap up our farewells to Stuart Scott. I mean, just an amazing guy all around. A father of two beautiful girls that his family sorely miss him.